You know, when spring rolls around, we all kind of think the same things, right? Fresh flowers, warmer weather, that feeling of everything starting over. It's always so gentle and beautiful. But what if spring wasn't just about being pretty? What if it was something way more intense? We're going to dive into a sermon that has a totally different take on this season.
So yeah, here it is. This is the big idea right at the heart of it. Instead of a gentle wake-up call, the sermon says spring is actually a test. It's the moment of truth, when everything has to show its cards. It judges what actually made it through the winter and what just looked like it did.
And this, of course, is the question it forces us to ask ourselves. When the spring of our own life shows up, a new challenge, a big opportunity, what does it reveal about what's going on inside? Are we really alive, ready to grow, or have we just been kind of standing there, lifeless, all along? The sermon actually offers a three-part answer to this, and we're going to walk right through it.
Okay, so the journey to becoming a living tree, at least according to this sermon, doesn't kick off with some huge grand gesture. Nope, it starts with a single seed, an act that it calls repentance. But hold on, this isn't about guilt, it's something else completely.
The Korean word here is nuiuchim, and the sermon is super clear. This is not about beating yourself up or tearing yourself down. It's more like a seed breaking its own shell. It has to happen for growth to start. It's that necessary, powerful moment of honesty where you just acknowledge where you are, and right then, in that moment, new life can finally actually begin.
And to really drive this point home, the sermon tells this simple little story. There's a farmer who had an apple tree. All winter long, it looked totally fine. It stood tall against the snow and the wind, looked just like all the other trees. But then, spring came.
And this is where that test comes in. See, while all the other trees started sprouting new leaves, new buds, this one tree did nothing. It was just silent. The farmer walks over, snaps a little twig, and it's bone dry inside. It had died sometime during the winter, but only the test of spring could prove it. And that's the point. Our own inner state, well, it eventually gets revealed when we're called on to grow.
So once that seed of repentance is planted, what's next? Well, the second stage is all about growth, what the sermon calls a resurrection from within. This is about how that tiny seed actually starts to sprout.
The sermon explains this whole growth thing with another really clear metaphor. For a seed to grow, it can't do it all by itself, but it can't just be passive either. It needs two very specific forces to come together.
So the whole point here is this balance. The external force is the sunlight. You can think of it as divine love, inspiration, the word. But all the sunlight in the world is totally useless if the seed has no water, which is our own internal effort, our prayer, our devotion, to actually absorb it. One without the other, it leads to absolutely nothing. Real resurrection only happens when both are working together.
This is such a key point. This rebirth isn't something that just happens to you. You have to participate. We have to be the ones soaking up the water, turning towards the sun. We are responsible for kicking off our own revival. And the sermon brings up this stunning, real-world example of this exact principle in action.
I mean, just imagine this. After the atomic bomb hit Hiroshima, the epicenter was just total annihilation, nothing left. But the very next spring, just a little over a kilometer from the blast, a ginkgo tree that had been completely burnt and blackened put out a new bud. Its surface was destroyed, sure, but its roots, deep down in the earth, were still alive. It initiated its own resurrection, and it became this incredible symbol of life's will to grow from the inside out.
Okay, this brings us to the final and really the most mature stage of growth. After you've planted the seed and resurrected from within, the goal is to become self-sustaining, and this is called autonomous movement.
The sermon puts a number on this idea, which is pretty interesting. It says that divine help provides 95% of what we need: the environment, the teachings, the love. But that last 5%, that's our responsibility, and it's everything. It's the part that no one else can do for us. It's our own free will, our own choice to actually do something.
I mean, think about the difference between two flowers. An artificial flower can be gorgeous, but it's just an imitation, right? It has no life, no smell, and it will never, ever bear fruit. It only exists because somebody made it. A real flower, though, grows all on its own. It has its own internal life force. The goal here is to be the real flower, not just the beautiful imitation.
Or think about a migratory bird. How does it fly thousands of miles back home every single year? It doesn't have a map, there's no GPS, nobody's giving it orders. It has an internal compass, an instinct that just guides it.
This, the sermon argues, is what autonomous faith looks like. An inner drive that naturally moves toward its source, no matter what storm it has to fly through.
And here's why this all matters so deeply. The sermon makes it clear that if we don't develop this autonomy, the consequences are bigger than just us. A tree that doesn't grow deep roots can't provide stable ground for whatever comes next. Our own spiritual growth, or our lack of it, literally becomes the soil for our children and their children.
So, what does this all add up to? Well, it's a journey, isn't it? From a dormant, maybe seemingly lifeless state into a fully alive, autonomous being that can actually withstand the winter and truly flourish when spring comes.
It's a pretty clear three-stage process. First, the honesty of repentance plants that seed. Second, the active work of resurrection makes it grow. And third, developing autonomy allows it to stand strong and provide for the future.
And so we end with this final question. The sermon takes this huge seasonal metaphor and makes it personal, immediate. It's not about some far-off future. It's about right now. It's asking us to forget about the big, showy leaves for a minute and focus on the quiet, unseen work happening under the surface. Today. Because it's that quiet, daily growth of the roots that determines if we will truly be alive when spring comes.